beautiful people. Good to be talking to you today. As always, this is Sex with Everyone, and I'm your host, Riley. And today I'm in Lexington, Kentucky with Luke. And Luke has recently gone through a breakup and is still kind of grappling with that within himself and figuring out what his next steps will be. And we talk about his philosophy in life at large and about how he's always striving for perfection, even though he knows he'll never attain it. So then we talk about what his idea of perfection is and what he's doing currently on himself to work towards that goal. So anyway, I will let him speak for himself, and I hope you join me as I talk about sex with Luke. Hi, Luke. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm gonna try to relax, but just gotta make my sexy.
Oh, you have a sexy voice.
I have when I get relaxed, I slide into a voice that apparently sounds very good for radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of ASMR. It only comes out on like Saturday and Sunday mornings when I log in to play video games with my friends. They're like, "Who the fuck are you? Why are you being so sexy?" I'm like, "I'm just tired and relaxed. I feel good."
No. It's because you are a sexy man.
Oh, is that what it is?
That is exactly what that is. Well, thank you again for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Tell me about you and a little bit about yourself.
I don't know. I guess the most pivotal part of me is that I believe that there is a perfection of spirit that can only be attained by striving constantly for perfection, knowing that it is unattainable. And that is a sort of North Star for how I pursue my own existence.
And how does this ideal existence and of perfection relate to your sexuality and how you pursue partners?
Oh, well, first off, I generally do not pursue partners. Partners generally happen to me in the largest amount of my existence. I am almost even Rocky, my longest partner ever, happened because one of his friends at a bar at Chamber looked over and said, "Wow, he's cute. You should talk to him." And Rocky came over and talked to me, and that is how I ended up in that relationship. My last girlfriend I kissed first, but beyond that, no. I don't know. I generally am so wrapped up in my own head trying to just be the best me I can be that someone comes along and kisses me, and then things happen.
So partners just fall into your lap?
I don't know. I generally get grabbed and hauled away.
Lucky boy.
Well, I don't know. Like I'm trying to learn to be more circumspect in that route, because sometimes the people that grab you aren't always the people that you want to grab you.
For sure.
Yeah. I was actually just got in touch with one of my good ex-girlfriends who was reminding me of how she walked up and grabbed me and kissed me at a New Year's party, and that was how we started dating. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that is how it happened." She's like, "Yeah, and then I moved on." And yeah, sounds about right.
Does that fall into your idea of perfection and the way that you want to be and think would be the perfect way of being?
I don't know. I always want to be receptive to people's affections, but
who doesn't love to be loved?
Well, see, that's the problem, though. Are you loved, or are you really desired? Are you? I mean, I ended up sleeping with a good friend of mine once, and it was a wonderful experience. All of my previous experiences led me to believe that she had a wonderful time, and she was smiling afterwards, and I was having a good time. And right after we had finished, she looked up at me and she smiled and she said, "So that's what it's like to have sex with a gay man." As I'm still buried inside of her.
Wow.
And to this day, I've still never gotten an answer as far as what that means.
Yeah.
But like that's sort of the thing when you just sort of, I don't know, for me, whenever I go along with those sorts of things, I end up in weird situations after sex. Like just I ended up having sex with a girl that I was a security guard at her college, and afterwards she started crying. I didn't know what was going on. But she seemed really depressed, and then she ended up calling me a couple weeks later to come over to my house, my apartment off campus, and wanted to have sex again. We had sex, and she started crying in the middle of it. And then I was slipping out, and she's like, "You can finish," and I'm like, "No, I can't." What's wrong? Here's a blanket. Let me get you some hot cocoa. Do you want to talk about it? No? Okay. No, I don't know. The whole perfection in sex thing never really go together in my head. I don't even know what like sex for me is such an awkward, messy, genuinely unfulfilling thing.
Unfulfilling?
Yeah.
Why is that? Or how is that?
Just like I think back to most of the partners that I've had, and it's been fun, but it's never. I mean, the vast majority of sexual parties I can think of, I've almost always had repeat, performances with the same partner, but never more than like on average, I think it'd be like 3 or 4 times I've been with someone, and then we stopped. And only recently have I sort of really learned what it's like to be with someone for a series of progressively more intimate sexual encounters, and how that can lead to more and more rewarding experiences as you learn each other's bodies and experiment and build that sort of sensual rapport.
Was that more fulfilling for you, or did you find that also some level?
Oh no, it was much more fulfilling for me. Yeah. I mean, there was one night I remember I got asked back to an after party from the chamber from one of the girls there who was one of the people at the front that check IDs and give you stuff. And she decided that she wanted to invite me back to an after party. I went to after party with her. I ended up in bed with her. And I was just so not into it. And I felt like complete shit about the whole situation because I was just I wasn't into it. And she was very much into it. And I am so ashamed of this. Because there was a point where she was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I just am so tired that if it doesn't involve just laying here and falling asleep, I don't know that I'll be able to do anything." How horrible is that to say to someone who's invited you back to their bed?
Did you guys continue after you said that?
She gave me a blowjob,
yeah.
which didn't finish because I almost never finish from blowjobs.
Yeah.
I almost never have release. Unless it is like unprotected, like vaginal sex with a woman, I almost never come. And,
really?
Yeah, really.
Didn't you have a really long relationship?
I had
with Rocky.
So the thing with Rocky is that I always bottled for him.
Ah.
So
Did you not get off in other ways?
I could get off if I was riding him and masturbating with myself. I could get off. But the thing is that generally speaking, and this is the thing about my last girlfriend, is she was able to get me off without vaginal stuff, and that was really intense. Because it just took a lot of time and it took a lot of practice. But no, I mean, whenever I got off with Rocky, it was generally because I was writing him and playing with myself. Mm-hmm. And I can get myself off too easy. Like, it's something I try to explain to my friends who've been in long relationships with people that they've lived with. Is that like I had more sex with Rocky than I had with any other partner, but we still didn't have what I would think of as a lot of sex, not as much sex as I was having with my last girlfriend, because I don't know. But like Rocky and I would have sex maybe like twice a week, and I would have sex with my last girlfriend like once a day or more. And the thing is that I crunching the numbers on it. I'm like, I talked to my friends like, you've been married what, like 10 years? I'm like, yeah. It's like, how often do you have sex? I'm like, oh well, we're really active. We have sex like once a week, once a night. I'm sorry, once a night, once a day. I was like, so over 10 years you've had this amount of sex. That's how much sexual experience you've had with this one partner. I've had like 20, 25 partners, maybe 30. And each one averages maybe 10. So I've had sex maybe 300 times. You've had more sex in 1 year of your marriage than I have in my entire life. And it's doesn't really compare that way, but I get anxious about it because I just don't know that I really know how to have sex right.
I mean, everyone does it differently.
I mean, it's true. Everyone does it differently, but like...
And also it's such a head game too, like to come specifically, like that you have to have your head right.
Oh no. And I'll do and I get the weird thing where I will have non-ejaculative orgasms. Or I'll have a little orgasm, but I won't actually come, like shoot. And those are fun. They are fun. They're just, when you have a partner that wants to be covered in your cum, it can be annoying.
I mean, that's what toys are for, right? And there's plenty of dildos and whatnot that can ejaculate.
Sex is so weird. But yeah, no, what you were saying about toys makes a lot of sense for me because it's sort of the reason why I like to service top. I mean, I even like to service bottom because, like, even when I'm topping, I'm still servicing. And it was actually really interesting because the other day I had said something just online about some meme or something, and one of the trans girls who responded was like, "It's funny that you think that I can't top my dom. That you know that he's in charge and I'm giving him exactly what he wants as I'm railing him." And I was just like, "Oh, that's fun. That's a fun little twist." So the whole idea of being a sub top is kind of interesting. But I mean, for me, that's what it's all about. Like, giving my partner a wonderful, pleasurable experience. And I don't know, I've gotten a habit of disengaging myself from my own, like, accumulation of the event. I'd rather just have a good time.
Yeah.
And sex can be fun without having to come.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. How do you think that has affected the relationships that you have been in? Or have your libidos been fairly synced in that way?
I don't know. I think they have been for the most part. Like, it's hard for me to remember what Rocky and I were like in the beginning because we did have some really freaky, nasty, freaky sex. But it's funny, like in a relationship, you always tend to remember like how it ends more than the beginning.
Sure.
At least for me.
Yeah. So, I don't think we've actually covered this. How do you identify?
So I'm trying to get back to how I identified when I was younger, which is identify as greedy.
Greedy?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah. I don't want one, I don't want the other, I want both and lots of it. However, that's the bisexual view. So now I'm trying to find like the pansexual way of saying it because with the whole gender and gender versus sex versus everything, I just being demisexual, being hugely demisexual is that the Venn diagram of people that I want to be friends with and the people that I want to sleep with / date is a circle. It's just this perfect circle. And like, I don't really care about what a person presents as. If I want to make out with somebody, I want to make out with somebody. If I want to make their eyes roll back in orgasmic bliss and see what kind of noises I can make running my nails up and down their back, then that's what I want to do. And whatever. Can you
describe what demisexual means?
Demi. Oh, yeah. It means that if the thing that really makes me sexually aroused is feeling safe and feeling trusted and feeling loved. If I have those sorts of feelings, then I get very, very aroused very quickly. Mm-hmm. Like with my last relationship, the thing that would get me harder than anything else wasn't seeing her in lingerie. It was talking about building a deck in the backyard with her. Like, it was talking about like wanting to go on adventures and trips mm-hmm. together. And then I would just get super randy because that was an expression of our relationship. And it's like the same thing with friends, like being with a friend and having a good conversation and feeling seen and feeling loved makes me horny. It's just sort of how I'm wired.
Yeah.
It leads to a lot of awkward boners, but, I try to have that conversation with friends, especially if we're going to hang out and cuddle or whatever. Just want you to know that if I feel safe and comfortable, I'm probably going to get an erection, so we should just both ignore that and continue watching anime and cuddling, and it will be really fun.
Yeah. Has that ever led to, like, actual uncomfortable situations with friends who didn't understand?
Generally not. No, because, I think that most guy friends that I like when I was younger with, I didn't cuddle with, so it wasn't a big deal. The only guys that I've cuddled with as I've gotten older have been guys who are very comfortable with their own sort of sexuality mm-hmm. and understand that that's sort of just something that happens mm-hmm. because they're guys and they have a penis and they know that sometimes penises just do what they do.
Yeah.
And for better or worse, I think culturally a lot of women understand that too. That even like just because a guy has a hard on doesn't mean that he necessarily has to do something with it or wants to do something with it or exists because, or maybe it's just most of the women that I'm friends with, they like, oh, you got a hard on, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I've lost count of the number of well, I know for one I have one really good friend who's still a friend of mine who she would get super drunk and messed up at a club and she'd call me and I'd come out and rescue her and get her home and she would go to bed and she'd crawl in my bed naked and I sleep naked so I'd go to bed naked and I would fall asleep with a fucking raging hard on pressed right up against her. So many nights I've lost count and we never boned even though I really wanted to. But I thought that was really disrespectful to sort of our friendship. So, yeah, it just happens.
Yeah. I want to ask how you discovered that you were demisexual and what that was like, growing up, figuring out this part of yourself.
I didn't realize it until I was like probably close to my 40s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old are you now?
40.
Oh.
The thing is that like sex for me was always like, I don't know, like dating and sex were supposed to be something fun. It was something I always tried to do because you're a guy and sex can be really fun. Sex can be really fun and really nice. And then but the thing is like dating, I think it probably really happened in Seattle where, it's funny. I think I can actually nail it down to what you asked that question. This is the thing in my head that comes up is there's this really awesome Italian restaurant in Fremont that I take all of my dates to. And I took this girl there and she was very cute. I liked her a lot. Or she was very cute. I found her very attractive. And I was hoping for some sort of bond. And, she found out that I was studying physics and she said, "Oh, wow, you're really smart. Can you explain to me how the floating cities work?" And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, the floating cities that the rich people live in. They have these cloaking devices and they float through the air. They're disguised as clouds." And she was not kidding. She really wanted me. Oh. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yes. And I came up with theories about it because I read comic books and so whatever. And yes, I did take her back to my home and yes, we did have sex. And yes, I regretted that immensely the next day. And I think that was when I really realized that I couldn't just bone someone and enjoy it. I needed there to be more than that.
Yeah.
And then later on, I had a girlfriend in Seattle that was sort of the same way, where I actually really liked hanging out with her a lot, and I liked going on adventures with her, but I didn't feel like she was connecting with me. And the last conversation I had with her was I told her that I needed the answer to two questions, which was, how did she feel about me? And where did I fit in their life? Because I thought about for a long time about like just really good open-ended questions that were like, I don't really care. I'm not trying to push you towards answering one way or the other. I just want to know how you feel about me and kind of where I fit in your life. And she turned around and she said, unsure to both questions. And that was it for me. I was just like, I don't want to sleep with you anymore. And I don't want to like be around you anymore. And she was really hot. And if I had been like, okay, whatever, I don't care, I could just still bone you, then, that'd been great. But I just couldn't. I didn't. Without that connection, there was no purpose to it. It was it was like masturbating using someone else, which is, there are people who are into that, and I'm just not.
When did you know that you were attracted to other guys?
So I don't know that it was so much being attracted to other guys as it was I liked butt stuff. And when I was very young, I was flexible enough to play around with tonguing myself, which was enjoyable. And I did some experimentation.
Holy shit, that's flexible.
Yeah, I used to be.
Wow.
I mean, not like all the way in, but I could get my tongue. I get my tongue to touch. I got a big tongue. There's numerous factors. And like after you come on your face a couple times, the whole idea of like someone else's cock in your mouth really doesn't bother you that much. And after you've explored multiple items jammed up against your prostate, the idea of a penis really doesn't bother you that much. So I wouldn't say that like I was into guys any more or less than I was into girls. Which really sort of cemented itself with Rocky, because the reason that I fell for Rocky was because he made me feel loved and safe. Like nobody else before or since really has. And yeah, like that made me fall so hard in love and lust with him. But as far as guys go, I don't know. Like, guys are cute. Guys can be really sexy, but guys can be really shitty.
I mean, anybody can be really fucking shitty.
And I was going to follow with that. Guys can be really shitty. Girls can be really shitty. People can just be really shitty. But I played on the high school football team, and I knew a lot of shitty guys.
Yeah.
I knew a lot more shitty guys than I knew shitty girls. Well, I don't know. Like my second girlfriend tried to flee the state and marry a 35-year-old in Michigan. That was interesting.
Yeah, I would say so.
This is one of those things where, like I was saying, like if you wait for someone to grab you instead of whatnot, you don't always end up with great people.
Did you have a big like coming out talk or anything with your family?
Oh God, no! Oh fuck no!
No?
God no!
Oh.
God no! No, we didn't talk about that forever until one night my mom was so drunk that she decided to ask if me and Rocky were dating. Me and Rocky had been dating for 6 years at that point and had lived together for most of that time in Seattle and Atlanta. And she asked me, she's like, "Are you and Rocky dating?" Or something or other. And I was like, "Mom, we have an unspoken agreement. You don't ask these questions and I don't give you answers. I don't talk about it and you don't ask." She's like, "I want to know." It's like, "Yeah, we're fucking dating. He's my boyfriend." And she was like, and she started crying. And she's like, "It's just such a shame because you two both have such good genes. You should make babies." Like a good Southern woman, she was concerned with the future of the progeny of the human species.
Right.
And so that happened, and no, this is why I don't talk to my parents though. They are shitty people.
Mm.
I'm not saying that all parents are shitty. I have so many wonderful adopted families and so many wonderful adopted parents, but my parents are shit. And the less I know about my life, the better.
Yeah. Did you guys stop talking over anything like that?
No.
We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
Oh, no, it's fine. I distinctly remember the last conversation that I had with my parents, specifically my mother. My dad's okay. My mom's the real problem. It was when I was getting out of the military and I told him I was getting medically discharged. And my dad asked me if it was a dishonorable or an honorable discharge, which is really insulting if you know anything about how one gets dishonorably discharged, because you have to like kill someone maliciously to get dishonorably discharged. And he knew that because he was in the Air Force. But I found that to be offensive. But later in that conversation, I asked my parents, I was like, are y'all happy? Are the two of you happy? And my mom was like, yeah, we're happy. I was like, good. I'm glad. I'm happy for your happiness. And then she asked me if I was happy. And I said, yeah, Mom, I'm working towards being happy. And she said, fuck your happiness.
What?
Yeah. And she said, fuck you and fuck your happiness. And I went to a bar immediately afterwards and contemplated self-harm for several days afterwards. And I realized that I didn't want to interact with people who made me want to stop being alive anymore. Yeah. Oh. And a lot of that stuff for me goes way back to when I was in, like, I've struggled with that sort of stuff since I was 15, when I was living with them. And the seeds of that experience is what followed me through most of my life until I got back to Atlanta last time and I got into a really good place and I'm trying to get back there now. I know this is supposed to be about sex and stuff, but
no, it's real, and I appreciate you.
Well, I think that might also be where part of the whole demisexuality thing comes from.
How so?
So, it's like you said, like sex is very much a mental game, right? Mm-hmm. Especially orgasming is very a mental game. So, if I am disassociated from my own existence, then physically speaking, I can do whatever, but I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to reach any sort of accumulation from it because I'm just passively engaging in my existence, right?
Yeah.
But if someone can make me feel seen or make me feel loved or make me feel like there's a greater purpose to my life than simple existence, then that can change that interaction, that sensual sexual interaction. Never thought about that until just now, but maybe something to it.
That's really interesting.
Okay.
I mean, it is. I mean, that's just, it's another facet of the human experience that I haven't considered before. Mm-hmm. And it's always interesting how that can manifest. And it's not surprising that it manifests, like affecting your libido and, your sexual experiences. Mm-hmm. So all that shit's intertwined.
I am so surprised that I've had anywhere near as many sexual experiences as I have.
What makes you say that?
Just dumb shit I got into when I was young.
Like what?
So I had lost, I was 15, I think, when I lost my virginity. And I lost every virginity that I could think of. I had my first sex with a woman when I was 15. I had my first sex with a man when I was 15. And they were both, one of them was far worse than the other, but they were still just jarring experiences. The woman wasn't too bad. She was about my same age and a cheerleader. No, she's a gymnast, but she was very troubled. She was one of those, she had burn scars from abuse. And she really liked hanging out with me. And I never like pressured her for sex, but she decided that she wanted to have sex with me and it was fun. It was interesting. It's when I first realized that like me and condoms don't work. And I don't know why. The thing is, I don't know if it's so much like me and condoms don't work or it's just like because I didn't have that sort of connection with her, it didn't work, right? Like I've had to sort of reevaluate this whole thing. It's like, are my problems with condoms or are my problems that I end up using condoms with partners that I'm not close enough to be able to not have unprotected sex with, right?
Yeah.
Which is a whole other thing. Anyways. The guy was a 35-year-old dude who catfished me down to his place.
Fuck.
Yeah. And that was a really fucked up situation. One of those, like, I don't know what I'm going to do to go home kind of situations. But it happened.
How do you think that affected you? Like, moving forward?
I don't know. I really don't. I learned not to trust people. That's the funny thing is I still trusted people that I met online. I really have no idea how that affected me.
Yeah.
Other than, I made damn sure that I verified if I ever went to meet anyone in person after that. Which is great because I had a wonderful trip to meet a friend of mine named Tiffany in Seattle when I was in my 20s. 18. I was 18 when I went to go visit her. We had met online and we had a wonderful week of fun and sex in Seattle, which was okay. But I had a lot of fun in there. The sex was alright.
You mentioned that you were in the military.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what it was like in the military being like a sexual person, especially somebody who's also attracted to guys and things. God. Like tell me everything.
So the fucked up thing is like that had way less to do with my experience in the military than just being older than everybody else.
Oh.
Because everybody thought I was having sex with all of the younger women in the unit because they would walk up because they would come over to my door in the barracks. They'd knock on my door. I'd let them in. We would sit and we would talk for like an hour or two about what's going on in their lives. And I would listen to them and I would talk to them and I would give them advice and they would leave really happy and feeling great about themselves. So all everyone saw was these young women walking up to my door, hanging out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then leaving really happy. And they would be, and all the young guys would be like, "Hey, what's your fucking game?" I was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "How do you get these girls to come over to your place all the time?" I was like, "Oh, okay, let me clue you in." And they're like, "Oh, what's up?" I was like, "Women are people." And they're like, and they're like, "What?" I was like, "All right, so you know how you like fucking Xbox and cars and mudding and all this shit that you like?" It was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, women have things that they like just like that, except it's other things. And if you ask them about that, they'll tell you the things that they're interested in. And then you can show interest. And if you want to get to know them better, you can put in a little extra effort so that when they talk about it, you have things to add to show that you've put in effort towards mutual interests. And then they will want to spend time with you because you've shown an interest in them as a person instead of a vagina on legs." And the guys were just like, "I don't buy it. No, you could just tell me what your fucking game is." I was like, "There's no helping me on." Yeah, no, I didn't. No, no. The hardest thing sexually for me in the military was I ended up dating and having sex with someone who later told me that they had HSV, and that was a big deal because that's when I first tested positive for HSV-1. Mm-hmm. And even though I'm completely asymptomatic, I could have had it my entire life before then, but. And, like, the more you know about it, like, the more you realize it's very common. It's not, I don't know, it's not a huge stigma, but it's still something that you should share with your partners. And that fucked me up bad.
Why?
For someone who never really felt like they deserved love or that they deserved happiness because they were imperfect and they were flawed to have been, like, a disease that or whatever that you can never get rid of, and it's just one more reason for people to not love you or not want to be with you. It fucked me up real bad. Like real bad.
I assume you've made more peace with it since then, though.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's one of those things, like the more partners you have and if you're open with it and honest with it, and like I don't know, the more you study it, the easier it sort of gets to live with it and realize, I don't know. I just disclose. I try to disclose with every partner that I have. And I do disclose with every partner I have. I don't know. It's like walking a tightrope. Like, do you let someone kiss you in the face knowing that there's a however much % chance that you're shedding somehow and don't know it, and you could be giving someone HSP by letting them kiss your face? I don't know where like the consent lines for that is all the time, especially when you don't know what your situation is.
Mm-hmm. And especially, HSV1 being so prevalent in the population as well. Right.
But it's not, it's not commonly tested for. It's like, it's not covered on the standard STD panel, so people can have it and not even know it. And it's just such a, like I said, that's how I said, like, I could have had it forever because I've been tested forever. But it wasn't until I was like, I need to be tested for HSV1. They're like, why? I was like, someone told me that they had it and they were my previous partners. Like, okay, well, I guess we'll test you for it now. Okay. We don't usually do this. And then you end up in that position of trying to educate other people about what's going on. Right? It's giving me a lot of empathy toward people that have to do that all the time. Like, educate people all the time.
You okay?
Yeah, no, this is just, I told you I had a lot of like bullshit about sex in my life.
Nothing you've said so far is particularly like off the wall insane.
I know. Well, it's not about.
It's just your.
It's not about story. It's just all the baggage I've saddled myself with. Maybe that's where the perfection comes into. To my sexuality is me wanting to be a more perfect partner and constantly just not being that.
Well, like you said yourself, no one can be perfect.
It's true.
It's unattainable.
And it's like you said, it's a head game. So the more pressure you put on yourself to be perfect, the harder it is for you to enjoy anything. Yep. I'm aware of all of this.
I know. You're a smart boy.
I'm not. I just try real hard.
Since you are so focused on this idea of attaining perfection. What do you see? Like, what do you see for your future? What do you want for your future? Like, with a partner, for yourself, like, whatever that looks like, what is your perfection?
Oh God. The perfect world for me would be a wonderfully co-collared relationship with someone.
What does that mean?
Where we both collared and leashed to each other, where we are just 100% willing to just belong to each other first and foremost before anything else. Other partners, cool. Like, other dating partners, fine. But that symbol of us belonging to each other is ours. And I don't know, just being with someone who I could go on adventures with and have someone who could make me relax and get me out of my head and just let me know that they want me and that they love me with a look. Like, me personally, I don't know. I'd like a job where I can work from home and I have a greenhouse built onto a deck on my back porch with a beehive in it, with a flower garden in the back so that I could try to flavor my honey. I want a smithy where I can work on metalworking projects and do leather working and costuming between working on, financial stuff online. Or I can go on vacations to Mexico or Iceland or Europe or Asia or anywhere with somebody who wants to go on those sort of adventures with me and make memories and make love. That's what I want. With someone who wants me as much as I want them. Mm-hmm. What?
I like it.
You ask a perfectionist, and this is what you get.
That's a beautiful fantasy. I love it.
Mm-hmm. With lots of wonderful sex toys. There's a happy place in my mind that I've had since I was very young. In fact, I often ask people what their happy place is, and they ask me what I mean. Because I don't know how I would have made it through so many hard times without a place in my head I can go. And in this place, it is a warm, like spring, almost summer day, where it's one of those situations where, like, in the sunlight, it's very warm, almost too uncomfortable, but in the shadow, in the breeze, it's almost too chilly. And there's a tree on a grassy hill that looks out over a forest. And beyond the forest, there's a river that cuts in front of mountains. And in this place, I'm laying in the grass, and the grass is still warm from the morning sun. And my head is laying in a woman's lap. And I'm smiling, and she's smiling, and she's running her hands through my hair and caressing my cheek. And it is the most perfect bliss that I can possibly imagine. So I'm looking for that place and that person. I found the place.
Yeah? Where is it?
I forgot exactly where it was, but I sent it to myself on Instagram. I saw a picture of it, and I was like, that's it. That's my happy place.
Aww.
And so I've got it somewhere in Switzerland.
That sounds about right.
It does sound about right. Yeah, like it sounds about right. Yeah. So I've got the place saved on my phone, so because I know I would forget it. So I've got it saved in my head. I think I emailed it to myself under the tagline "Happy Place," so I can find it when I need to go back. So all I need to do is find the person, and then I can go and live the dream, literally.
And what are you doing in the more short term to like work on yourself towards that eventual goal?
Well, I am currently trying to recover from a shattered heart and move on to a place where I can be open to that happening. Because, and I really do believe this, that like you can't really go out in the world looking to find the right person. Because every time I've tried it, and most people I know that have tried it, end up finding someone who looks like the right person, but isn't. And there's this writer, Mark Mason, that I read a lot. And he wrote something that's something along the lines of like, the only thing that you can do that will increase your chances of finding the right person is to work on yourself. To find things that make you happy and to spend time doing those things. Because it's only by finding your own happiness and by you becoming who you want to be that you will put yourself in places to meet people who are open to that and who would be interested in that. So right now I'm queuing up for my one-way trip out to Okinawa, which I think is going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to spending a lot of time on the beach. And it's day 4 of me quitting smoking. I'm really looking. I fucking do not want to go back to that again. It was a crutch when I needed it because I could not process all of the feelings, but it's time to walk away from it. I want to get back in shape. I want to get to the point where I feel good about the body that I'm in. Not just like how it looks, but just being able to breathe and being able to run and being able to do all sorts of physical activities. And and like doing the time to sit with my feelings and getting back into doing like body scan and mindfulness meditations to just let myself hear my thoughts and my feelings so that I actually know where I am instead of where I think I am. Getting to a place where I'm stable and I'm happy, where I was before I met my last girlfriend, where I was just in a really good place and I was ready for a chance at love and a chance at forever. And it didn't work out, and that's life. But I've got to get back to that place where I was at before there.
For you.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
And if someone else comes along, great. Yeah. And if it works out, even better.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. And being Demi's great because it means I'm not like, desperately trying to fuck my way out of my
Yeah, for real.
Oh man, I could not handle that right now.
Yeah.
Oh man, because I've known people that have gone on sexual benders after getting breakups, and more power to them. I couldn't handle that. I would feel like shit.
Yeah, it just feels empty after a while. For me, at least.
No, I hear you. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel it. Yeah. Been there a lot. Choosing not to do it again.
Yeah. Good. Progress. I love it.
Right. I've learned a lot about myself. Like, it's so weird having like your sexual awakening at 40. Because I don't know, but maybe that's just life. Life is a series of sexual awakenings for me.
I mean, I genuinely believe that, for me at least, like, my sexuality is a never-ending journey, and it is constantly evolving.
Oh yeah. But like, I'm really looking forward. I don't know. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing like what it's going to be like playing around with my submissive side. I'm really curious about seeing. I really liked being submissive. I really liked the sensation of being fucked by a girl, not like in my ass, but like having, like, it's such a weird like mental turnaround, because everyone always thinks about the penis going into the vagina as to being the fucking, but like having a girl literally fuck me until she came was so good. I would love to play around with that some more. I'm really looking forward to whoever my next long-term partner is, because I've got a lot of things I want to experiment with, and I've got a lot of love to give. So,
what sort of experimenting do you want to do? Other than
more of what I've already done?
Yeah.
I want to do more of what I've already done. I want to, like, I really want to play around with toys more. I don't know. I really am looking forward to having partners that I can just, like, I don't know. I like tying people up and teasing them and tormenting them with toys, and then just watching them struggle until they realize they can't get out, and then watching them just succumb to their own flesh. It's such a wonderful thing to see. And vice versa. I love... It's like one of the real sadnesses that, like, I'm so discipline heavy. If someone puts my hands over my head, I will just leave them there now, because that's how I was conditioned or trained in my last relationship. But I never got to actually be tied up. I'm really looking forward to trying being tied up, or restrained, because that could be fun. I've never been restrained, like really restrained before, and then teased and tormented and edged and milked and all those wonderful things. I have a whole being a switchy hedonist is such a lovely existence. I just need trustworthy, loving partners to explore that with.
God, there's so much you can do. Like, especially being a switch. Like, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Oh yeah, I know. Like, oh God. There was one point in time where it was so funny to me, because I finally started to get it from the other perspective, because I've always been one of those people that is perfectly okay. Like, whenever someone shows me a little bit too much neck while we're having sex, I generally put my hand up on their throat, and generally that leads to a little bit of choking, and that seems to go out really well for the person I'm playing with. But I never really like got it from their perspective until she was on top of me and fucking the living dog shit out of me. Which again, remember, I don't come very easily. So she just was going to town on me, and I felt myself getting so close, and she like put her hand on my shoulder, and like her hand like touched my throat, and I was like, oh. And I looked up at her, because I'm in the middle of subspace. I can't really talk right now. Right. And I just look up at her with like puppy dog pleading eyes, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, and moves her hand away. And I'm just like, no, more, please. And she just did not get it. But I mean, she was in the middle of coming, so I don't blame her.
Details.
Whatever. Yeah. This is about my needs, okay? Listen, I'm the subgroup. Whatever. But yeah, no, that could be a lot of fun. I'm curious if I will be able to find someone who will ride me like a circus pony and choke me until I come. That'd be lovely. I don't know if I'll ever have that feeling with someone else again. but I'm looking forward to trying.
Yeah. Well, I have really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
My friend. I really appreciate you willing to be open talking about all this.
Well, my pleasure. It's therapeutic.
That's me.
I'm a
therapist on the road, I guess.
There are so many worse things to be than someone who is safe to talk to about these sorts of things. And then share them with the rest of the world.
I mean, we've already had this conversation, but I think it's important for people to hear other people's experiences to know that exists. Yeah. And that,
absolutely. And because people don't talk about it, they feel trapped inside their own little boxes, like everything's happening to them in their own little microcosm, and they're just not part of a bigger world of people who they can talk to and empathize with and have shared joy and shared trauma with.
Well, I love you.
I love you too. You're one.
All right, my friend.
Call it there.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Oh, God. Okay, sure. Tell you what, I'll get back with you after Japan, and we can talk about all of my adventures there.
Sexual adventures in Japan!
I hope I am lucky enough to have a few.
Oh, my God. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, want to see.
Luke is such a sweetie. I so appreciated him willing to be vulnerable and talk with me and share it with you all, of course, about some things that he clearly has a lot of feelings about and can be a little uncomfortable by. And I think that that is just so true for a lot of us, most of us, all of us, whether it's sexuality at large or specific aspects of it or specific experiences. I think we can all identify with that feeling of concern when sharing it with others. So thank you again, Luke, for being willing to do this. It's just so special every time. I especially really appreciated his insight into his demisexuality and where that stems from for him. I thought that was so fascinating. From having a childhood of trauma and insecurity and just bad experiences has led to him feeling his sexuality most when it comes with safety and security and feeling wanted and needed even, and, attractive. He really requires that kind of level of connection and security to want to be sexual with somebody. That definitely makes a certain kind of sense. And I thought that was fascinating. And by no means am I saying that all demisexuals come from that place or have trauma, or it's just Luke's story. And yeah, so I just really appreciated that. So I hope you join me in 2 weeks. I will be talking with Jenny, my friend from fucking middle school. I've known her forever. I'll be in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and she recently has had a baby. And so we talk about her experience through pregnancy, through giving birth, and now having a newborn child, and how that relationship with her husband has changed and with herself has changed. And we also, get into some old shit too. We go there. But yeah, so I hope you stick around for that. And, in the meantime, stay awesome.